that during pregnancy or postpartum, 1 out of 7 women experience significant depression, anxiety, panic, and post-traumatic stress, which may lead to isolation, poor bonding with the child, and difficulty in breastfeeding. The global prevalence is estimated at 100 to 150 per 1,000 births, which shows the reality of maternal depression being a hidden burden in developing countries. In our conversation today, we learn and share more on postpartum depression, also known as PPD. I am your host, Diane Odiamo.
I'm Sharon Otieno.K.Orlando. I'm a teacher by profession. I'm a mentor also. As per now, I'm working with HOVIC team. I'm dealing with mostly underprivileged girls and children and vulnerable children. My life story, my life was good. I've been raised with a single parent, but my life changed when I was in Form 2, when my dad married. And that's where my life started to be something else. Through attitude, that is what pushed me, because the hierarchy of needs that I wanted in my life was denied. I was denied. I had to look for something else that could maintain me, that I had to look for a man. And through that, the getting of a man led me to something else. Because it ended up that my fee could not be paid. So I had to get somebody who could pay my fee. And that could not be done by one person. I had to get 2 or more people so that I can maintain that hierarchy of my needs. It pushed me to an extent that I conceived after high school, which I could not regret, because through the helps that I got from that person, I never regretted. But what happened pushed me to something else, because from there I got rejection from people close to me, starting from my own people, my parents, who chased me away. And the same person also rejected me. I could not bear the pain. I tried committing suicide, not even once, but several times. But I ended up having my life back. It goes until to the point that I got a job during that period of time. But I could not maintain my job because of my state. So I had to move in with a friend. Funny enough, the friend I moved in with was a prostitute. My health got worse. So I had to move from the place to the hospital, because in her place I could not get the meals I needed. And by that time I was pregnant. But through that state, I could not bear. I tried again to kill myself. But I ended up in the hands of street kids. Through them, I got the help that I needed. They could maintain me. I was comfortable sleeping outside. But I was happy, because at least I got the peace that I wanted. Despite my father being somebody prominent in life, he has it, but it never stopped me to end up in the streets. That was just the beginning of it. After giving birth, it went worse. I hated myself. I hated the kid. But through the help of these street kids, I tried to bear it, but I never wanted even to see the kid in my life. Each and every day, problems came up, to the extent that my life turned to something else, when I ended up being raped in the streets. I could not stand the life. Until one time, I was picked up by a woman who used to pass by every day and give me food. At first she started like, I want to give you work. But I was never interested in the work because I knew at the end of it, why am I working? For what purpose? The other thing, despite having the kid, I never loved the kid. So I had no reason for working. But the first thing she did, she took the kid away from me. And there is where I started realizing that despite all the fact hating the kid, I still had a bond with the kid. I had to look for the kid. Looking for the kid, I ended up in another family. The woman was good, but the husband was a drunkard. But lucky enough, I thank God because through the family, I started finding my roots. But that hatred in me about my people, they are the cause of everything. And what made my life worse was the rape part. I couldn't stand anybody in my way in terms of a man. And to make it worse, the kid I had is a boy. So I just felt like I should not be with the kid. I should not see any man or talk to any person. It took me long to come out from that part. But step by step, I tried. But it never came out of me. The thing that she did to make me come out of the state is when she enrolled me in a TTC. That was John's Teachers College, to pursue my P1 course. From there it was tough because for the first week I tried to run away because I could not bear it, because at the first time you are there, they'll ask you how you ended up here. And one of the students, one of them somehow knew me. So it touched me a lot. But step by step I tried to understand. For the first time when I went for my training, which now it was basically part of my life, where I have to do it whether I like it or not. And the kids where I met them, I realized that I should try to bond with them. Despite all the challenges that I had to try to bond with them. What keeps me going every day is the people around me and the family I have. They are my people and they give me the strength to fight. Despite everything, I always believe that there is always somebody somewhere who can believe and trust in you, who doesn't see the worst part in you in life, but see what you can do better than what you see in you. With the girls around, with the young children, the only thing I can tell them is they keep fighting. Life is a battle. It doesn't matter where you fight it, but at the end of the day, you'll have to come out as a winner.
Postpartum is a condition that affects most first mothers or new moms, but they can also affect mothers who have given birth before. And it's normally accompanied a number of symptoms which are behavioral. They can be also psychological. They can also lead to attitudinal changes in the mother. And many times it comes basically 2 or 3 days after the birth of a baby and can stretch for a period of 2 weeks. Sometimes it may end there, but at times it may go beyond that if not properly managed. Therefore, it becomes a depression on the part of the mother. Yes.
So what are some of these triggers or risk factors of postpartum depression?
From research, we basically discovered that there are about 2 main factors that causes postpartum depression in mothers. The first one is normally physical. You know, when a mother is expectant most of the time, the body produces a lot of hormones. But the moment she has given birth, the level of hormone goes down drastically, especially the 2 major hormones, estrogen and progesterone. These 2, once they go down, automatically there'll be a change in the mother. And when the changes occur in the mother, then the body is likely to react in that particular way. Secondly, there are emotional challenges that occur with pregnancy. For example, when the mother is very emotional during pregnancy or just after birth, they may not be sure of what's going to happen to them soon after the baby has been born. For example, they may be financially down, so they may not be aware of what's happening around them. So when this happens again, it triggers stress in them. So this kind of fear comes into the mother, and therefore this is like to happen to the mother. Yes.
So that means when you've given birth or you're a new mom, what are some of the things that you're supposed to look out for in order to know this person is maybe suffering from postpartum depression?
Yeah, that brings us to the symptoms basically of postpartum depression. But also don't forget, postpartum depression can also affect the newborn, the first fathers, because an experience that is very new to most of them. Now, one of the things that is very common in mothers at that time is the mood swings. They tend to have a lot of mood swings. They become very moody over small issues, which if they don't manage can cause them a lot of challenges. Secondly, the mother is like to cry often. You know, you can't explain why you are crying, but you tend to cry quite often. So when that happens to you, you should realize that you are getting into the danger zone. Thirdly, there may be issues of fatigue. The mother becomes so fatigued, you know, you lose interest even in good things that you really used to enjoy. You don't enjoy them anymore. So in that case, again, it may be a problem to you as a mother. The other possible cause, symptom that you need to look at is that the moment you find that you're not caring for the baby so much, you want to be a bit more detached from the baby. And you feel the baby is kind of being a problem to you, a bother to you, you know, like washing the baby, feeding the baby becomes a problem to you, then you need to realize something is not right. So you need to really check and therefore get your position right over that. So
you said also fathers are at risk of postpartum depression.
Mm-hmm.
So how is postpartum depression treated? How do you treat postpartum depression?
Maybe probably before I talk about the treatment,
yes,
there are moms who are more prone to this condition, especially if you had a history of depression in the past. It's likely to reoccur, especially if it was properly managed. Secondly, if at all in the family you have this kind of depression running around, can be inherited kind of, you know. So if you're not careful again, you may also become at risk because of this. The other thing is poor relationships in marriage. For example, if the marriage has been very stormy and the mother seems to lack support during the pregnancy, then this may also cause it. And also, very young girls are also at risk because maybe this may be the first time they're getting into this. Like now you've heard about the COVID-19 period, where about so many teenage pregnancies. Most of these young girls don't even know how to manage the pregnancy itself. So here you are with the baby, you don't know what the baby will eat, maybe you don't even know the father of the child. So you tend to get a lot of stress, so this may come about at the same time.
Let me interrupt you a little bit. You said you can inherit depression?
Yes, if it runs within a family, just like suicide, if suicide runs within a family, it's likely that a family member may experience it. Okay. Yes.
I didn't know about that. How do you treat postpartum depression?
Basically, one good news is that it is treatable.
Yes.
It is manageable. It depends on the individual. First and foremost, before you go for the actual, the animal advice that before you go for medicine, all the treatment lie within you. It's within you. So you have the options of looking at yourself, self-care, self-management. How do I manage my anger? That's very, very important as an individual. Am I able to realize that I have this problem? The moment I realize I have the problem, it will be easy for me to be out of denial. Then I realize, this is coming, it won't be there for a long time. After all, people overcome this kind of challenge. Then two, it's good to prepare financially for the baby. If the baby is going to come, you should be sure the baby is going to eat. The baby will be dressed, and the baby is able to live well. So that it comes from within you as an individual. So the mother needs to have a positive mental set for this to be overcome. Then in case the problem becomes a little bit more, you can talk to a counselor. Counselors have so many ways of helping parents to overcome some of these challenges. And you have so many of them, they'll be able to help you settle and then overcome the challenge. And thirdly, in case it becomes beyond that, then you have clinical treatment. You can see a doctor, a medical doctor, who may maybe prescribe antidepressants to help the mother overcome the challenge. But I normally tend to feel this should come in as a last resort, because something we can easily manage so long as we are positive towards life in general. Yeah.
Are there health concerns if postpartum depression is left untreated?
Oh yes, that is very true. If postpartum depression is not treated, it may lead to what we call postpartum psychosis. And when it becomes psychosis now, it becomes extreme, whereby you will tend to have hallucinations as a parent. You may even think of actually even suicidal thoughts. You may even think of committing suicide because you are seeing yourself as a failure. And in case you don't have suicidal thoughts, you can even cause harm to somebody else or even kill your own child because you are seeing the child as a bother. And in some extreme cases, there's what we call delusions. You know, delusions is believing in things which are obviously not true. Like for example, we all know that the sun sets in the east, rises in the east and sets in the west. But with you, when you're the leader, you just believe the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, and you believe in that completely. So somebody who does not take care of postpartum depression ends up with those kind of grandeurs, which are normally very, very dangerous to a particular mother.
So is there a difference between postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis?
Yes, postpartum psychosis is the extreme end now. It's on the farthest end. Okay. Yes, postpartum depression can be managed. It's a bit more mild. It's fairly mild, but also not very mild aside. But the psychosis is at the very extreme end, which can, by the way, even lead to death, the death of the parent, because you become very dysfunctional, and you just, sometimes when you get to that kind of level, even distinguishing between day and night becomes a problem. You can even wake up in the night and you move out that you are washing clothes, yet you should be sleeping at that point in time. So it ends up chemically wearing out, and if not taken care of, it goes beyond that, then death is going to be the result.
Why is it difficult for someone who is depressed to always accept they're depressed or they're in that state?
One, someone who is depressed is almost reaching at the end of the rope. Many times they are not themselves. And that's why mothers who experience postpartum depression require a lot of social support. In fact, even a neighbor should be able to realize that you are in that situation, talk to you about it, and therefore refer you to an agency for support. Then two, many people see that we are human beings, we have weaknesses. Somebody may not feel like going to hospital because they seem to be on the other end of the world, Yeah. And just like you see, again, I've almost forgot to say this, some mothers experience postpartum depression because they imagine that now, I was a young girl, now that I've given birth now, I've changed, I'll no longer be seen as a girl, I'll be seen as a woman, and then somebody looks at you sometimes as a woman, you're not even married, for example, which to me should not be a major issue. But because you refuse to get out of it, you've locked yourself so much. You feel if I go out for help, I will be seen to be out of the normal, and therefore it becomes a challenge. Right.
So what are some of the postpartum health concerns? What are other health concerns in postpartum?
Basically, the health concerns are varied actually. There are so many. One of them, which is very, very common, and a mother should be careful of, is this having the negative mental health, poor mental health. And in fact, you may even go berserk because of that. Two, healthy relationships. You begin maybe to mistrust the world, and especially if the relationship was very strong, you tend to mistrust the world, and once you mistrust the world, you have kind of that kind of challenge, you see. So basically, health concerns depends on the individual and how you manage the problem itself, and therefore it becomes a challenge. Right.
So as you wind up, how do you handle maybe new moms or new dads we are seeing the potential of depression, because you find in some societies, like in my cultural background, you find someone is undergoing depression, but people will be like, this person has been bewitched. So how do we handle, or they'll say in my mother tongue,
yes.
So how do we handle such people?
I think first and foremost, we need to really get time to talk to these young parents, guidance and counseling. The church can play a significant role in this environment, whereby your family-related matters you can be discussing with the young parents. Girls and young boys also need to be taught about some of these things, and will be taught to choose, because life is a matter of choices. If you choose the wrong trend in life, it becomes a bit of a challenge. Then we also tell them that some of these things are not permanent. They are solutions to everything. Don't feel low about this situation. It can happen, it's very normal, but everybody at one time must have had an ups and downs. Even those who are successful, by the way, they have their ups and downs. So when baby blues come to you, don't look at it as if it's a whole hell of world you can overcome over time. So sensitization, like what you are now doing to this program, is very, very important. It reaches, we are able to reach young people, young parents, and therefore they're able to get ideas to overcome some of these challenges. So even experts can be called upon to give talks to young people, whether in churches or in organizations where they're working, where they can be given ideas on how to overcome some of these challenges.
Well, we've learned that postpartum depression is a reality. If you haven't experienced it, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You can follow us on our social media platforms at HTV Kenya on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.